Alton is going to be killed in episode 10? Like, do you think it's a wrap for him? Do you think Reed is going to
Well,
go all the way? Or, could it even be another character who does it? Like, what do you think is going to happen with that?
I will say this: Franklin has a very complicated relationship with his father, Alton, um, and I feel like that's going to play into what happens with this situation. Now, we saw that Franklin, like you mentioned earlier, he was willing to save Leon. So you kind of get the sense that he wants to save Alton, but Alton is very, very stubborn. We know that even though he didn't talk with Franklin when he decided to have this conversation with Irene, before he even entertained that, he never spoke to Franklin at any point to tell him what was happening with that whole situation. So because of that, we know that he's going to do whatever he wants to do, regardless of whether or not it impacts Franklin. For that reason, I would not be surprised if Franklin has to just let it play out. But the thing is the main thing with this whole season, Franklin, from the very beginning, all he had to do was just stay away from what was happening between Scully and Manboy. But he did not. He wanted to get involved with that. And now what's going to happen with Reed and Alton? He's right in the middle of that. And it's not like he can't be involved because he has to interact with both of them. I mean, he doesn't have to interact with Alton, but even then, you saw in this episode that he told Alton when Alton came up to that hospital, like I thought there was about to be a showdown between father and son.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think when push comes to shove, if he feels as though something could happen to Alton, I think he would try and step in to try and protect them, prevent that from happening. But this is why I say it's hard to gauge that because we've seen their dynamic since the show started. I recall the very first season where Alton, came to the house for a little while. That made Franklin very angry. And then we saw when Franklin had his little altercation with the officers, you saw Alton just walk off in the distance. And then when he got arrested, Alton came to the jail cell to try and say something to him, and that angered Franklin even more. Then when Franklin finally got out, it felt as though they were trying to mend their relationship. So it's hard for me to say whether or not I think that he's going to help Alton. I kind of feel the trailer is misleading because in that trailer at one point Reed throws the phone down, and then right before that you see Franklin talking about I'm not going to listen to any threats. So it's hard to know was he talking to Reed at that moment or vice versa because how they mess around with the trailer. But what I would say to just give my own guess as to what's going to happen, I think Alton's going to die. Alton said in that trailer, "I will do whatever I can for my family. I would die for what I love." I really believe that, and I believe that yes, he's on his way out. And I think that once that happens, then it's going to get very rocky between Franklin and Teddy. But the question is how it happens. Is Teddy going to actually be the one to kill him? Or are they going to pull a swerve and Franklin's going to be the one to kill him? That's what the question is, because I don't really know. But what I do know is that Alton probably isn't going to make it out of this next episode. If he does, it's a situation where either him or Reed dies. I don't think Reed is going to die yet. I really don't think that because he still has some things left to do. But if I had to make a guess, I think Alton is not going to make it out of next week's season finale.
As far as Alton, yeah, I think we're definitely going to see a major death, to end off the finale, I think. And it has to be somewhat shocking. And like you said, I do believe they might be playing tricks with the trailer. Like, they can be like real particular with the editing to make it look a certain way kind of thing, but it's not really like that. We saw that earlier in the season where there was a dream sequence of Franklin holding up the gun to Leon or whatever, so we know they play tricks with the preview sometimes. So I wouldn't be surprised if Franklin is the one to pull the trigger on Alton. So and we get like a whole Ghost gets killed by his son dynamic, but you know the Snowfall version.
But I think this version probably you totally understand why.
Yeah.
The context of why Franklin would pull the trigger.
Yeah.
That's good though.
Yeah, like so the trailer makes it look like Franklin is going to be opposing Reed, and you know he's going to be trying to save his father and everything, and that could be the case. You know, we don't know. Maybe he even tries to save his father throughout the episode, but then has a change of heart. Maybe something happens that changes his perspective on things, and then he ends up pulling the trigger. So. So yeah, this could go many different ways, but if it comes down to, like you said, Reed or Alton, definitely Alton is going going to be murdered, because Reed is like the one of the main characters. He's like one of the two main characters in the show, so he's sticking around, and I guess that leads to the next question, because it's directly related. But did you have another point on that?
I just was going to add on something else real quick. I think it would be a lot more dangerous if Reed is killed, because Reed is still a CIA agent. If you just imagine if you was to kill a CIA agent, what could happen as a result of that? And I'm pretty sure that they would really come after Franklin or whoever is responsible if that happens. So that's why it's hard to say, you don't want to kill off Reed. But at some point, I do feel that if Franklin does cooperate with Reed, either he kills Alton or he allows Reed to just do whatever he's going to do. That is going to definitely start the tension between them two going into eventually when they have a showdown. Because it's going to happen. I feel like that's going to happen for sure. I just don't know if it's going to happen next week or next season. But it's going to happen.